Success is one of those words that gets thrown around so casually, almost like it's a destination everyone must reach. We see it in headlines, in motivational quotes plastered across social media, in books that promise shortcuts and formulas. It seems as if success is a prize, waiting at the end of a straight path, available to anyone willing to take a few easy steps. But here's the painful truth no one really tells you. Success is nothing like the fantasy you've been sold. It's far more brutal, far more demanding, and far lonelier than most people ever imagine. And unless you face this truth head-on, you will keep chasing an illusion and end up feeling emptier than before. Think about the way success is presented in our culture. It's always glossy, polished, celebrated with smiles and trophies. The entrepreneur standing on stage with applause, the athlete holding the medal, the influencer flaunting luxury vacations. It all looks effortless, enviable, perfect. But those images are a highlight reel, and highlight reels don't show the price paid behind the scenes. They don't show the years of grinding in silence, the sleepless nights, the doubts that claw at you, the sacrifices that bleed into every corner of your life. And when you begin walking the path yourself, you realize the gap between the fantasy and the reality is wide enough to break most people. The first brutal truth is that success demands isolation. When you start to chase something bigger than the average life, you begin to distance yourself, not out of arrogance but out of necessity. You no longer fit into the comfortable routines others cling to. Friends who once understood you now think you're obsessed. Family members may question why you're wasting your time when there are safer choices. And slowly, you begin to realize that chasing success often means walking alone, carrying a vision that only you can see. That loneliness is crushing at times. You'll sit in quiet rooms with no one clapping, no one cheering, no one even believing in what you're doing. It's in those moments that most people break because they expected success to bring recognition, not rejection. Another painful truth: success is not about motivation. You hear so many people preach that motivation is everything, that you just need to stay inspired or find your why. But inspiration is cheap, fleeting, like a spark that dies the moment wind touches it. Success is built on discipline, on showing up even when you don't feel like it, even when your body is heavy and your mind screams to quit. The people who make it are not necessarily more talented, more gifted, or more motivated. They are simply relentless in their discipline. They treat their vision as non-negotiable. Day after day, they show up when everyone else makes excuses. That's not glamorous. That's not Instagram-worthy. That's brutal repetition, a grind that will test every ounce of your patience. And very few are willing to accept that this is what it takes. Then there's the cost. Success demands sacrifice. Not the kind people casually mention like work hard now, play later. No, it's deeper. It's the missed birthdays, the weekends alone, the relationships that wither because you don't have time to nurture them. It's the hobbies you give up, the comfort you trade for struggle, the certainty you exchange for risk. Everyone loves to talk about passion, but passion fades. What remains is the sacrifice, the quiet decision every day to give up something you love in order to pursue something you believe matters more. And here's the real kicker. Sometimes you sacrifice and still fail. You can pour your heart, your time, your money into something and watch it collapse. That's the pain no one warns you about, that you can give everything and still walk away empty-handed. The truth about success is also that it never feels the way you think it will. You imagine that once you reach the milestone, once you hit the number, once you achieve the goal, you'll finally feel complete. But when you get there, the satisfaction is fleeting. You celebrate for a moment and then a new emptiness creeps in. You begin asking, is this it? That's because success doesn't fix you. It doesn't erase your insecurities, your fears, or your flaws. It only magnifies them. If you were lonely before, success makes you lonelier. If you were insecure before, success exposes you to more criticism. If you were lost before, success gives you more directions to lose yourself in. It is not a cure. It is a mirror, showing you the raw truth of who you are. And yet people chase it blindly because the world glamorizes the result while hiding the process. You rarely hear about the failed ventures, the bankruptcies, the mental breakdowns, the broken families behind the success stories. You rarely see the full price paid in blood, sweat, and tears. And so you walk into the game expecting a shortcut, a smooth road. That illusion kills more dreams than failure itself, because when reality hits, it feels like betrayal. The truth is, success is supposed to be hard. It is supposed to test you, break you, strip you down. Only then does it reveal who you really are and whether you deserve to stand at the top. But here's the paradox. The very things that make success painful are also what make it transformative. Isolation teaches you resilience. Discipline teaches you consistency. Sacrifice teaches you clarity of values. Failure teaches you humility. And that fleeting satisfaction reminds you that life is not about arriving at one finish line, but about the constant pursuit of becoming more than you were yesterday. That's the hidden gift inside the pain. Success doesn't reward you with comfort. It forces you to evolve. It punishes the weak illusions and strengthens the parts of you that can endure. Most people will never tell you these truths because they're uncomfortable, because they scare you, because they don't fit into the shiny package of self-help advice. But the people who have truly tasted success, the real kind, not just the Instagram version, know it's brutal. They know it's not about glory but about grit. They know it's not about talent but about endurance. They know it's not about being admired but about being willing to be misunderstood. And they know, deep down, that the painful truths of success are the very reasons it's so rare. Another painful truth about success is that it is not fair. We grow up believing in meritocracy, in the comforting idea that if you work hard, play by the rules, and put in the effort, you'll get what you deserve. But reality doesn't work that way. Hard work is essential, yes, but it is not a guarantee. You'll see people with less talent and less drive climb faster than you because they were born into the right family, because they had the right connections, or simply because they got lucky at the right moment. And you will see others who grind for decades and never get the recognition they deserve. That imbalance can crush your spirit if you cling to the illusion of fairness. The truth is, success plays by its own rules, and those rules are often brutal. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop resenting the game and start learning how to play it better. Think about it this way. Success is like climbing a mountain, but not everyone starts at the same base camp. Some people are already halfway up when you're still lacing your boots. That's life. You can waste energy screaming about the unfairness of it, or you can focus on what's in your control, your grit, your persistence, your ability to climb despite the obstacles. Because in the end, complaining about fairness never moved anyone forward. The mountain doesn't care about your feelings. It only responds to your steps. Here's another truth people don't want to face. Success changes you, and not always for the better. We like to imagine that achieving our dreams will only bring out the best in us, that money or recognition or power will amplify our kindness, our generosity, our good qualities. But in reality, success amplifies everything, good and bad. If you're insecure, it magnifies your paranoia. If you're arrogant, it inflates your ego. If you're greedy, it feeds your hunger for more. Many people lose themselves in the process, becoming versions of themselves they don't even recognize. They sacrifice their values for shortcuts, compromise their integrity for opportunities, and chase external validation until they forget why they even started. And here's the painful part. You won't always notice it happening. Success can seduce you slowly, pulling you into its grip until one day you realize you've built a life that looks good on the outside but feels hollow on the inside. And while we're on the subject of seduction, let's talk about the trap of more. Success is addictive, and once you taste it, you begin to crave it like a drug. You hit one milestone, and almost immediately your mind moves to the next. You think, if I can just get this promotion, I'll be happy. Then you get it, and suddenly you're chasing the next rung of the ladder. You think, if I can just make this amount of money, I'll feel secure. Then you reach it, and you're already hungry for more. This cycle never ends, and if you're not careful, it can consume your life. You become a slave to progress, never truly content, always restless, always comparing yourself to the next level. The painful truth is that success, without perspective, becomes a prison where you are always chasing but never arriving. Another harsh reality is that success comes with enemies. You think people will support you, cheer for you, and celebrate your victories. Some will, yes, but many will not. People envy what they don't have. They'll resent your growth because it reminds them of their stagnation. They'll criticize you, belittle you, gossip about you, and secretly root for your downfall. The more you rise, the more visible you become, and visibility always attracts arrows. You'll be judged more harshly, held to higher standards, and attacked for things you never even intended. And the cruelest part is that often the hate doesn't come from strangers. It comes from those closest to you. Friends who once laughed with you may pull away. Family who once supported you may grow distant. Success exposes people's true feelings, and it forces you to confront an uncomfortable truth. Not everyone in your life wants to see you win. Now let's talk about failure because it's inseparable from success. Everyone loves to talk about bouncing back, about learning from mistakes, about the noble journey of perseverance. But the reality of failure is devastating. It breaks your confidence, drains your energy, and leaves scars that don't always heal. You will question everything, your ability, your choices, your worth. And when failures pile up, as they inevitably do on the road to success, you'll feel the weight of hopelessness pressing against your chest. What most people don't realize is that success is not the absence of failure. It is the mastery of enduring failure without losing faith. And that is brutal. It means getting back up when your spirit is shattered. It means trying again when logic tells you to quit. It means betting on yourself when no one else will. That's not inspirational fluff. It's painful, raw reality. Here's something else they don't tell you. Success is boring. We glamorize the breakthroughs, the big moments of triumph, but 99% of the process is monotonous, repetitive, and unexciting. It's showing up day after day, doing the same thing over and over, refining your craft in tiny increments. It's grinding through the details, through the parts nobody sees, through the long stretches of invisibility. Success is built in the quiet hours when nobody is watching. And for most people, that boredom is unbearable. They want novelty, they want excitement, they want quick results. But success demands the opposite. It demands patience, consistency, and the ability to endure boredom without losing focus. That's why so many quit. They confuse excitement with progress, and when excitement fades, so does their commitment. And yet, despite all these brutal truths, people still chase success. Why? Because buried within the pain is something deeply human: growth. The loneliness builds character. The unfairness forces resilience. The criticism sharpens focus. The failures teach wisdom, and the boredom trains patience. Each of these painful realities is also a teacher, sculpting you into someone capable of carrying the weight of your own dreams. Success doesn't give you what you want. It makes you into the person who can handle what you want. That's the hidden transformation. The real tragedy is that most people never get far enough to discover this. They get discouraged by the first taste of loneliness. They get bitter when life isn't fair. They crumble under the weight of criticism. They retreat when boredom sets in. And so they settle for comfort, for mediocrity, for the illusion of safety. They avoid the pain, and in doing so, they avoid the growth. That's why success is rare, not because it requires genius, but because it requires the courage to embrace discomfort. If you can accept that, if you can see success not as a destination but as a brutal process of becoming, then you'll stop looking for shortcuts. You'll stop expecting applause. You'll stop demanding fairness. And you'll start embracing the grind, the loneliness, the sacrifices. Because in the end, the painful truth about success is that it is not designed to make you comfortable. It is designed to make you strong. Another painful truth about success is that it requires you to confront parts of yourself you would rather ignore. Success exposes your weaknesses like a spotlight in a dark room, when you're struggling in obscurity. You can hide your flaws, you can excuse your mistakes, you can avoid accountability. But the higher you climb, the more visible those weaknesses become. If you're disorganized, success magnifies the chaos. If you struggle with discipline, success exposes your inconsistency. If you avoid responsibility, success makes you crumble under pressure. And the painful reality is that most people don't fail because of the outside world. They fail because they refuse to confront their inner world. Success doesn't break you, it reveals you. And when it reveals you, it forces you to evolve or collapse. You can no longer get by with average effort or half-hearted attempts. You're forced to level up, to stretch beyond your comfort zone, to confront your fears head-on. That's terrifying. Growth always feels like breaking because it tears apart the version of you that can't handle the next level. Success will demand that you let go of identities you've clung to for years. Maybe you've always thought of yourself as the underdog, the one who struggles, the one who doesn't have enough. Success will rip that story away and ask you to become someone stronger, more accountable, more resilient. And that kind of transformation is painful because it means leaving behind parts of yourself you've grown attached to, even if they're the very parts holding you back. Another reality that no one really talks about is that success requires you to outgrow people. You will outgrow friends, outgrow environments, outgrow conversations. And it hurts. It hurts to realize that the people you love don't share your vision, don't understand your hunger, don't support your sacrifices. It hurts to walk into a room you used to feel comfortable in and suddenly feel like a stranger. Success creates distance, not because you think you're better than others, but because you're no longer willing to live at the level of comfort that others settle for. And here's the brutal part. You can try to bring people with you, but most won't come. They'll resist, they'll discourage, they'll pull you back because your growth threatens their stability. That's why so many dreamers end up alone on their journey, not because they wanted to leave people behind, but because those people refuse to grow with them. And let's be honest about something else. Success is exhausting. People like to glorify hustle as if working nonstop is some badge of honor. But the truth is, the grind takes a toll. Your body wears down, your mind burns out, your energy dips, and yet the world doesn't stop. Your goals don't wait. The deadlines don't disappear. You are forced to keep moving even when every cell in your body is screaming for rest. And yes, balance is important, but here's the truth no one tells you. Balance is a privilege of the successful. In the early stages, when you're building, when you're clawing your way out of mediocrity, balance is a luxury you can't always afford. You will push yourself to exhaustion. You will give more than you think you have. And sometimes you'll break down. That's not weakness. That's the price of building something that matters. Another painful reality. Success isolates you emotionally, even when you're surrounded by people. The higher you climb, the fewer people there are who truly understand what you're going through. You can't vent about the pressures without sounding ungrateful. You can't share your struggles without people thinking you're privileged. You can't admit your doubts without risking your credibility. And so you carry it inside. You smile on the outside while fighting battles no one sees on the inside. This emotional isolation is something few talk about because it shatters the myth of success as a constant celebration. In truth, it can be one of the loneliest experiences of your life. Now let's confront the illusion of control. People often believe that success is fully within their grasp, that if they plan well enough and execute perfectly, they can dictate the outcome. But success is unpredictable. Timing, market shifts, other people's decisions, random events, so much is outside your control. You could do everything right and still watch your efforts collapse because of factors you couldn't anticipate. That unpredictability is brutal because it means you're never fully secure. You're always one unexpected shift away from losing it all. And yet, you must keep going, keep betting on yourself, keep building in the face of uncertainty. That's what separates those who last from those who crumble, the willingness to move forward even when control is an illusion. Another harsh truth: success will make you misunderstood. People will project their insecurities onto you. They'll label you arrogant for believing in yourself. They'll call you selfish for prioritizing your vision. They'll criticize your sacrifices without ever understanding what it took. And perhaps the most painful part is that you can't correct all of them. You can't explain yourself to everyone. You have to accept being misunderstood as the cost of chasing something bigger. And for most people, that's unbearable because we're wired to seek approval, to belong, to be accepted. Success demands that you let go of that need and become comfortable with standing alone, even when it means carrying the weight of misjudgment. And here's something that rarely gets said: success is fragile. One mistake, one wrong move, one moment of complacency, and everything you've built can unravel. That's why successful people often feel more pressure, not less. The higher you rise, the harder the fall. Every decision feels heavier. Every risk feels sharper. And that pressure can crush you if you're not prepared for it. The painful truth is that success doesn't make life easier, it makes it more complex. With every achievement comes greater responsibility, greater scrutiny, and greater stakes. Yet despite all this, here's the paradox. Success is worth it, not because it makes life easy, but because it forces you to become someone unshakable. It strips away your illusions. It demands the death of your weaker self. It confronts you with pain, but through that pain, it shapes you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. Success doesn't reward the dreamers. It rewards the doers who are willing to pay the price most refuse to pay. And the truth is, the pain itself is the proof that you're on the right path. Because if it were easy, if it were comfortable, if it were fair, everyone would have it. The very fact that it hurts is what makes it rare, and what makes it meaningful. The final painful truth about success is that it is never really finished. You imagine that one day you'll arrive, plant your flag, and finally rest. But the reality is, there is no finish line. Success is not a place you reach. It's a state you must constantly maintain, defend, and grow. The moment you stop working, the moment you grow complacent, the moment you think you've made it, you begin to slip backward. Success is like holding water in your hands. If you stop paying attention, it slips through your fingers. And this is the truth that shatters so many illusions. Success doesn't give you peace, it gives you responsibility. It gives you more battles to fight, more weight to carry, more mountains to climb. That's why so many who achieve success end up restless, chasing new goals, searching for meaning beyond the trophies. And this brings us to one of the hardest realities to accept. Success alone cannot fulfill you. You can build the empire, win the medals, earn the wealth, and still feel a void inside. Because success is external. It is recognition, achievement, results. But fulfillment is internal. It is alignment with who you are and what you truly value. Many people confuse the two, believing success will automatically create fulfillment. Then they achieve it, and the emptiness hits harder than ever. That's why you see celebrities with fame and money falling into depression, why you see powerful leaders feeling lost, why you see people at the top still searching for purpose. Success without meaning is an empty victory. The painful truth is that success will cost you your old life. It will take away comfort, safety, certainty, and familiarity. But in exchange, it will give you growth, resilience, power, and the chance to create something extraordinary. And the trade-off is brutal, because most people are unwilling to give up what they know for the possibility of what they could become. That's why mediocrity feels safer. That's why average feels comfortable. But the truth is, comfort is the slowest poison. It keeps you alive but never lets you live. Success, for all its pain, at least demands that you truly live, that you stretch yourself, that you taste the extremes of what's possible. And let's not forget the paradox of legacy. Everyone wants to leave a mark, to be remembered, to prove that their success mattered. But here's the truth: time forgets us all. The world will move on. The applause fades, the trophies collect dust, the money changes hands. Even the most legendary names eventually blur into history. So what's the point? The point is not to be remembered forever. The point is to live fully now. The point is to chase success, not because it guarantees immortality, but because it forces you to grow into the highest version of yourself while you are here. Success is not about leaving a monument. It's about becoming someone you can respect in the mirror. And that brings us to the deepest truth of all. The pain of success is the very reason it matters. If it were easy, if it were fair, if it were guaranteed, it would have no value. Its value lies in the struggle, in the scars, in the moments you thought you couldn't go on but did anyway. Its value lies in who you become on the way. Success isn't about the prize at the top, it's about the transformation along the climb. The pain is not a punishment, it is the process. It is the refining fire that burns away weakness and leaves behind strength. You see, most people will never tell you these truths because they don't want to discourage you. They want to sell you the dream, the shortcut, the feel-good version of success that sounds appealing but isn't real. But sugar-coated advice doesn't prepare you for the war ahead. The truth does. And the truth is that success will break you before it builds you. It will strip away everything false before it reveals what's real. It will demand everything from you and then demand more. It will take you to the edge of yourself and force you to leap. And in that leap, in that terrifying space between falling and flying, you will discover the person you were meant to become. So if you're listening to this and you still want success, understand what you're asking for. You're asking for nights alone, for failures that sting, for sacrifices that cut deep. You're asking for criticism, for rejection, for moments of doubt so heavy they'll suffocate you. You're asking for a life that is anything but easy. But you're also asking for strength, for resilience, for growth that cannot be measured, for the pride of knowing you faced the brutal truth and didn't run. You're asking to live a life that matters, even if it costs you everything familiar. And here's the final paradox, the painful truth nobody tells you. Once you accept all of this, once you stop expecting success to be easy, once you embrace the pain as part of the process, it actually becomes liberating. Because now you're no longer blindsided by the struggle. Now you're no longer shocked by the loneliness. Now you're no longer betrayed by the failures. You expected them. You welcomed them. You used them. And in that acceptance, you find power. The kind of power that makes you unstoppable, not because the journey gets easier, but because you get stronger. So don't chase success because you think it will make you happy. Chase it because it will make you grow. Don't chase it because you think it will fix your life. Chase it because it will reveal who you really are. Don't chase it because you want applause. Chase it because you're willing to walk through the fire to become unrecognizable to the person you once were. Success isn't about comfort, it's about transformation. And transformation always hurts before it heals. That is the painful truth nobody tells you.